this whole thing with Eric Adams. And again, what is your thoughts on the decision by the judge? And, because obviously this can affect numerous other cases, because now Eric thinks he's off the hook with everything, yet he's kind of insinuated in many other cases, especially those that you have. So what are your thoughts on the judge and that decision yesterday?
Well, I think the judge's hands were tied in terms of what he could do in allowing the case to move forward. Once the prosecutors determined that, or made it clear that they didn't want to proceed in the case, they really have discretion there. So it seems like Judge Ho hands were tied. But I mean, the comments that he made in the body of the decision that this reeks of a quid pro quo deal, I think are pretty telling. I will say that the criminal cases don't necessarily impact the civil cases. Although if Mayor Adams has, like I have 4 cases against Tim Pearson. If Mayor Adams goes to jail, as does Tim Pearson, it obviously helps the cases because it makes them all less credible, which they don't need a lot of help with becoming less credible these days. But obviously a conviction in federal court would have helped that. I will say that it's Adams's policies and reluctance to discipline his friends, which ultimately lead to the city being liable for these civil cases, more so than a criminal case on straw donors or upgrades of flights. I think it stems directly from his own sexual assault case. So when he gets sued by my friend Megan Goddard for sexual assault, he has to say that never happened and not apologize or be suspended with pay or anything like that. And then from that point forward, anyone else that's accused of similar allegations also have to be allowed to remain, which leads them to keep someone like Scott Henderson, who's accused of sexual harassment, or Jeffrey Madry, who's been accused of sexual harassment for a long time before the Epps sexual abuse allegations came out. Tim Pearson was allowed to stay. All these people are allowed to remain in power, with Mayor Adams saying they need due process, but that's not the normal standard for allegations of sexual harassment in the workplace. The normal approach is to suspend someone with pay, so they're not injured in any way. They're still paid. They're just put on the shelf. We, as the employer, look into it, investigate it, and then make a determination. If they clear them of wrongdoing, then they can go back to work. If they have GO after GO in Pearson's case of people corroborating the evidence, and the former corp counsel has to resign because the law department is being forced to cover Tim Pearson, well, then that's a different story. But that all goes back to Adams' refusal to remove bad actors that are his friends when allegations come forward.
It's funny you mentioned this case of Megan Goddard. It's a good thing that she's your friend, because I find it a little so Eric Adams, who his corporation counsel left partially because of that case. Yes. His direct counsel, Lisa Zornberg, left also because of that case. And they were referencing things. They almost is a theme we're going to find with all these other cases, especially yours. Yeah. They browbeat and bully anyone who's a whistleblower or a victim. So this woman, right? They're having a problem because Alex Spiro was the attorney until recently on that. But they were browbeating this woman, saying he doesn't know her. He doesn't. I don't recall this when we actually had now Eric Sanders on. He's also an attorney. And he was the president of the Guardians, and he specifically said, no, Eric did know her. They were part of the Transit Guardians. So Eric is smearing her. But John, we keep seeing this over and over again, because in all your case, it's the same thing over and over again. It stems from the top.
So Adams' case is unique in that the law department does not cover employees that are accused of crimes like sexual assault or rape. I have other examples where they did not cover the NYPD employees. Both of them were allowed to retire, though, I will add, in good standing while the allegations were pending. One was multiple rape allegations on a first-grade detective. They declined to bring a 30-day case, allowed him to retire in good standing with the good guy letter. The other guy was a ICO lieutenant in property, literally sexually assaulted my client, grabbed her by the head, made her give him a blowjob, threw her out of the office. He got collared on that. Is facing criminal charges right now in Brooklyn, Kings County, and they allowed him to vest with 18 years on, rather than what they said was suspend him with pay and then risk maybe him bringing a 30-day case and then forcing my client to testify against him in the trial room. They sold it as, we won't want her to do that, and we'll let him go with 18 years and full pension. I assume you don't have that, Sal, right?
Nope.
Right. I mean, this guy got collared after that. They mimicked the charges and specs off of the indictment in Kings County, and then let him vest. So, I mean, as I tell you all the time, it's a phone call job, and it's who you know, which is really good for my business, but it's terrible if you're an employee in the NYPD, because I mean, it's who you know over and over again, even when you're accused of the most heinous sex crimes imaginable. They'll still look the other way if you have those hooks.